y'all, hey, welcome back to Coffee and Camping. As you can see, it is absolutely beautiful outside, so I wanted to hop outside today to do my video for you guys. It has been raining for like the past 2.5 weeks, the whole time we've been in Texas, and it's just been gross. And so it is beautiful and sunny and 70 degrees here today, and I have been outside all day, which is good because being cooped up in there for 2.5 weeks, you go kind of stir crazy. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about 5 things that I would call maybe like the not so great part about full-time RVing, something that you want to take into consideration if you're thinking about moving into an RV full-time or a tiny house full-time and you've got a couple of kids. If you're like a family of 3 or 4, it's just some stuff that you want to take into consideration before moving into the small space full-time. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1, it is a small space. It's a small space. There's really no other way to put it. You've got a hallway, if you can call it that, that's like a foot wide. A lot of the spaces like that you're trying to maneuver around each other all the time. Normally you've got like all this, you go this way and I'll go that way. Here it's like who's gonna move. It's like a constant like shoot off, like who's gonna move first, who's gonna go first, let's play chicken. That's what it feels like all the time. So it is a small space. You are constantly on top of each other. There is not a lot of privacy. It's just small. But you know what? It's worth it because you get used to it after a while. But it is something to take into consideration if you're thinking about moving into the RV or into a motorhome. Number 2, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but for me at least, it is the constant upkeep of my floors. I get it. I have 2 kids. I have 2 animals. There's 2 adults living in there. It is it's all hardwood floor, so it's constant sweeping for me, constant Swiffering. When we were in North Georgia, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Georgia red clay, but there was like, I swear to you, it was like an inch thick of Georgia red clay on my floor. I was sweeping probably close to 5 times a day, it felt like some days. See, that's the joy of like being outside. You get to hear all the crazy neighborhood shenanigans. But when we were up at a campground, not on concrete, you're constantly tracking in dirt. So there was a lot of dirt action going on, I guess you could say. Sweeping is just something that the never-ending story. What's the other one? Oh, number 3. Oh, y'all, my dishes. I do dishes all day long. At least I feel like it, but really I don't. I do them in the morning. Sometimes if I need to do them before dinner to have something clean to cook or eat dinner with, I'll do them then. But the dishes are constantly piling up. I've told y'all before, I wash dishes first thing in the morning, and then I don't wash them again until the next morning, because there are a few things that you have to take into consideration when you're washing dishes all the time. Is how much water do I have in my fresh tank? How full is my gray tank? Is the water pressure too high right now because I am washing dishes, and how fast is the gray tank filling up? So that's just something, that I always have to think about is, the dishes are just constantly piling up. There's dishes all the time. And I get it. We're a family of 4. I've got 3 meals a day for 4 people to prepare, so I'm always going to have dishes. I feel like it's all the time. And it's probably because my kitchen is so much smaller and I don't have a dishwasher, so you do have to like wash all your dishes by hand. It just seems like there's a lot more dishes now that we're living in the small space than there ever was before. But in reality, there's not, because we don't even have as many dishes, like physically have as many dishes as we used to. But that brings up my point number 4 is... I'm going to tell you though, we need to dump the tanks.
Can I eat first?
The tanks. Oh, they are the bane of our existence sometimes. When you're traveling in your home, you've got your bathroom and you've got your shower, but where does that water go? Oh, look at her go in the background with her cartwheels. That's my daughter. Where does that water go? Well, it goes your you know, your shower and your sink water goes into a gray tank, and all your toilet water goes into a black tank, and you're constantly trying to figure out when and where to dump the tanks. It's, I would say, Dathan will probably laugh at this because I don't dump the tanks. It's not me. He said many times, I'll teach you how. I'm like, good. You can do that. I'll wash the dishes. You dump the tanks. But it's still a constant like, hey babe, the tanks need to be dumped. Hey, where are we gonna go to dump the tanks? You know, if you're hooked up at a park and you have full hookup, you don't have to worry about where you're going to go. But if you're boondocking or like where you know, staying in a friend's driveway like we're doing right now for a few weeks, you do have to constantly think about where you're gonna dump the tanks, and you have to, you know, you might have to pull out and go somewhere to dump the tanks, and you have to pay to dump the tanks. It's just, the tanks are always needing to be dumped, always. But it's worth it, so it's fine. And then number 5 is, hey, you stink. Who stinks? Who stinks? You stink. You stink too. It stinks sometimes. You know, it's not like the greatest topic to talk about, but it is true. It stinks sometimes. You know, you've got a small bathroom that opens up to the whole house. You got business you gotta take care of. You got meetings to go to, and sometimes they stink. So you turn the fan on and hope for the best, but there are times that it does not smell very good. On top of that, you know, if you do have pets, you got to take into consideration, like if you have a cat, you're gonna have litter box stink. It's part of living in a small space, but at the end of the day, it is 100,000% worth it, because we are living life on the road. Every day is an adventure. You know, not every day is packed full of fun activities. Today we just went to the park and enjoyed the weather outside. You know, hanging out in Texas for a few weeks, and then we're gonna head up to Colorado for a few weeks, and then we're actually gonna be spending our summer in Idaho, right next to the Canadian border, so that's exciting. And we couldn't live a life like this if we weren't in the motorhome. We would be restricted to just staying in one spot and going to work and coming home and, you know, planning your vacation that way. So we decided, you know, that we would move into the motorhome and live life on the road. And then, you know, in order to do that, we knew we were gonna have sacrifices. And if I have to live in a small space and really think about how much water I'm using when I'm doing my dishes, and nag Dathan about dumping the tanks, and trample over my kids to get to the hallway, and have to smell a fart every now and then. It's our family, so it's more all the time. I have a 6-year-old boy, so it's like all the time, but it is totally worth it. And I would love to live in it forever, but I know it'll come to an end one day, but truth of the matter is I would love to do it forever. So it's totally worth it. So those are my 5 things that I have known to be true, that are the never-ending story of living in BVA. If you guys are a full-time family, if you have something else that's a never-ending story, I'd love to know what it is, so you can drop a comment below and let me know. Thank you guys so much for supporting Coffee and Camping. We really like to just let you guys know like how we're doing and what kind of adventure we're taking, and really the ins and outs and the nitty-gritty of living in a motorhome full-time. So if you do have any questions, feel free to let us know. We'd love to answer them. A bug just flew up my nose. Oh my gosh. Y'all, I think a bug just flew up my nose. I think it was a mosquito. Ugh. Ew, that was so gross. Okay.